But frankly, the Wall Street Journal, a high-ranking Boeing official, said that they had made a decision to not disclose additional details about a new system that Phil talked about. It's called the MCAS system, due to the fact they assumed that the average pilot would be inundated with this information, and they just thought it wasn't appropriate. And that's not only professionally insulting, it's a little bit ethically insulting, but that's okay, because safety culture has many layers in it. And now that information has been provided us, and we're digesting it and understanding it better. And along with I saw in a New York Times report, the NTSB in Indonesia made similar claims that this information and this complex emergency that we're starting to learn more about, this may have been one of the issues that needs to be looked at closer. But the good news is, and I want to make clear, that 737, the old, the NG, the previous version, and the MAX, they're safe aircraft. We fly them every day, and our families are on them. But what makes it safer today is now we know more about the system, and that's what this is all about.
I mean, that's very interesting. It's a very fine line and very important distinctions that you're making. You do feel like these are safe aircraft. You do fly them every day, and you fly your family on these flights, too. What would you describe overall? Because there are a lot of people just trying to understand what this means, and technically it is pretty complicated. What kind of things do you normally hear from Boeing or from other manufacturers about the planes that you fly? And do you feel like there has been some sort of a problem in the information flow?
Well, obviously there's a problem when they said they chose to not disclose this information. As pilots, from Sully to the newest new hire that we have, we want information about our aircraft. That's our obligation and our calling as professional pilots. So someone choosing that they don't need to know that is not part of a safety culture. But the good news is we have that information now. We're processing it. We're asking additional questions. We're finding out more and more smaller details that are important to us. And I think that's going to make us an even better aviation system throughout the country. And might I add, our system in the U.S. is the safest in the world. And it's that way because we have many stakeholders that are part of the safety culture, from manufacturers like Boeing to pilot unions to our company. American Airlines has been extraordinary in their relay of this information to us immediately. So what we see here is a positive step forward.
Captain, does this situation give you any anxiety that there's other information about other features on these planes that are not shared with pilots, in part because there's a view internally within some of these manufacturers that it's too complicated, or that, 4, 5, 6, 7 things have to go wrong before you would need to know this last step, if you will?
That's a great point. That's exactly what we're struggling with right now, is there's been a loss of trust because of this information withhold. We'll get through it, but that's what we're going through right now. And we're asking, what else do you have, please?
Right.
Yeah, that's front and foremost. And for the complexity of things and whether or not we can process that, try us. We're pretty good at processing.
I was going to ask the same question and just add it to this. How big of a modification or a change was it? How often would you see something like this, which just I'm trying to get to? How many other things maybe do you not know about? This seems like it was a fairly significant thing that was changed, or does it happen all the time? And then they say, well, they don't need to know. Because you had to the way you found out about this is not the ideal way, obviously.
That's true, obviously. And what occurred by the FAA Emergency Airworthiness Directive and Boeing's disclosure was an erroneous AOA gauge. And bottom line is it triggered many automated systems that we were not aware of. So does this happen on aircraft? We're always learning about aircraft. We're always adding to our knowledge base. So it's not uncommon, but to be totally in the blind on a major system like this that is so vastly different than the original is something that's
rare.
Definitely
that Boeing puts in
rare.
A completely different, like this was a fairly big modification that Boeing made on the Mac?
Yeah, and I think it's rare that we're not briefed on that.
Okay.
So this is an anomaly, and it is not the way business is normally done. And not reflective of a perfect safety culture. But
Captain,
we're there now.
Captain, there are a lot of people from the outside who are now analyzing this and trying to figure out if this is a situation where the FAA needs to take more control and tell the manufacturers what needs to be done, or at least be providing more oversight. But we're all on the outside. You're on the inside. You have a very good handle on what's happening. What do you think is the proper solution to this? Does the FAA need to step in more, or is this something that industry can manage on its own?
Well, I think the FAA stepped right on up as we were hoping for. Boeing put out a notification to crews about this, and then the FAA stepped up and said, no, we're going to issue an emergency airworthiness directive. So they elevated it quickly. They were decisive, and that got our attention. It got our company's attention, and very quickly we received information from Boeing that was very helpful. So we're pleased, and we look forward to that type of team effort going forward. And we encourage Boeing to continue to join us and step into the circle of trust, and let's get this done right.